and thank you for tuning in to Life, Love, Marriage, Divorce Conversations. I'm your host, Monique Davis Dotson, with Tina Jones, Brie Henderson, and Kim Porcher. Well, thank you guys for joining us once again. Unfortunately, we had two mass shootings in less than a week. Um, Words cannot express our sincerest condolences to the families as well as the communities in Boulder and Atlanta. Um, May God be with them all. KP, what's your thoughts about this?
Um, it's incredibly disheartening. Um, you always hear, shootings in Atlanta, and I mean, almost every week is something. Um, my heart goes out. We spoke a little bit last week about mental health. I think it definitely attributes to people with just mental health issues that can go out and just shoot and kill people. Like, mental health is serious, and I think people need to just be mindful. And in this world now, we have to really look around and be sure that our surroundings are as safe as possible. But again, yesterday, just being in the grocery store and that happening, so my heart goes out and my condolences to the families. And I would love for the shooters to get help.
What do you have to say about this, Bree?
I mean, I agree with Kim. There's a lot of mental illness. It's a shame that we can't just go to a grocery store. Our kids can't go to the schools without this threat or the insecurity that somebody is going to take a weapon and come in there and do mass murders. I experienced a robbery myself and my little sister going to a convenience store at a young age in Tacoma, Washington.
Mm.
And there was a guy with a weapon, and we saw him shoot the lady at the cash register. And I mean, you can't imagine the intensity of the fear unless you're actually in there. And to see somebody at such a young age bleeding like that, and there were multiple people in both of these situations. There is a mental illness piece. There is a piece where we have to go ahead and do some kind of gun regulation, not taking the rights of the people, but having to do some more screening, the mental illness, checking these people for mental illness. They're still going to be able to get these guns, but we need to come up with a collaborative way to try to control some of these guns and start getting some peace on the streets. I
Mhm.
don't think that right now that will change very much from either incident. We saw Sandy Hook. We thought that that was going to make a big difference. And how many more mass shootings have we had since?
Yeah.
What is it going to take for somebody to make some change? And that's my 2 cents on that. We need change.
I agree with you 1,000%. I mean, after Sandy Hook, and unfortunately in Colorado, they had, remember Aurora, Columbine, and now this. Something does need to happen. No one is saying, I'm piggybacking off of what you said and agreeing with you saying about Second Amendment rights. I mean, but we can do something to um, prayerfully control the situation, so those who have mental health issues have more limited access to getting these assault weapons and killing people. Um,
Perhaps we can make some changes. The NRA holds so much power in the with the lobbyists. It's money that's coming into the government. We have to find some other way that the NRA still gets what they need, but the government gets what they need, and that it's not a bought government because we see what the results are.
mm,
Something has to come to a compromise with the government and the NRA.
yeah,
I mean,
well,
they're
we
too
definitely,
powerful.
yeah, I agree with you. Definitely praying that it happens. TJ, what do you think?
I just agree with all of you guys. It's just, I mean, you have no words. You have no words. I was watching CNN last night, and they had a young man on there, and he said, "I just wanted to go to the store and get a bag of chips and a soda,"
Yeah.
and this is what happened.
Yeah.
And then the police officer that was killed, he had seven kids,
I was
7 kids.
Mhm.
What do you do?
What
You
do
know,
you,
What do
he
you do?
tried to get a transfer because he had told them that he wanted a job that would be more safe for him, that he could get home and take care of his family.
7.
So it's so disheartening.
yeah.
So, and then they were saying that it's possible 10 people that were killed. 10 people.
Yeah. 10 people.
I
Oh
mean,
my,
like you said, you have no words.
you
I
have
don't
no words.
have any,
Yeah.
can't even
Yeah.
imagine going into the store and not coming out.
Yeah.
Well, what, not even the store, church. I was
Yes.
highly impacted by the Charleston
Yeah.
massacre church shooting. One of my very dear classmates was a pastor in that Charleston church and was killed in just church.
Church.
I mean, it really it shook me because it's like where are we safe? Where can we go to be safe? And it's unfortunate. I my heart goes out to the families, and you just want to um, you just wonder where does the hatred come from?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where does where does it come from?
It's becoming all too common. So, you know,
And this
again,
one is like no motive. They have no clue why.
well,
No,
yeah, they're
no,
still
I don't know.
investigating. Yeah, they're still investigating.
Most of the time, there is no real motive to
No.
go and just
Yeah.
kill 10 people.
Yeah. What I like, what is the motive?
There is no motive.
What are you so that upset about?
Exactly.
This is what I'm getting ready to do. I need help with understanding that, you know, as a Christian, you pray and you give it to God or what have you, but there are some things that definitely surpasses my own understanding because I can't understand this. I have a righteous anger about this. Um, because it doesn't make sense. You know, I think about the officer, 51 years old. I'm 51 in a few months. You know what I'm saying? I was at the grocery store yesterday. So you just think about these things like, you know, you going through your everyday life. And I always say, you never know when the good Lord is calling you home. But for your life to be taken by somebody who, what are you so upset about? So again, mental illness is real. We don't know if that's, you know, the gunman's issue. All I know is that it was evil, period. That's all I don't have anything else. But we are praying for the lives lost and those families who are dealing with this today across the board for the, even for the ones that don't make the news. We are praying for all. All right, let's move along. We got a lot going on in sports. Okay, so we have March Madness. So let's start there. Okay, women's NCAA, the weight room issue, the weight room drum. All right, Brie,
Shame,
start it up, Brie. Start it up, Brie.
shame on them.
I'll
You
sit
know,
back on this
social,
one.
right? Social media is a beast. They have to know that. I mean, how did they think that they were possibly going to get away with that? You know, the caliber of women on the NCAA basketball, they are just as valuable as
Absolutely.
these men's teams.
Amen.
Some of these girls could give some of those guys a run for their money, but that's a sidetrack. I mean, they did them dirty. They did them dirty. And even still, when they went in there and made restitution, as I would say, for that, they didn't do a real good job. They're still, it's very sparse in comparison to the men's, but that's what we have dealt with for years. The imbalance of men versus women. And it was put on front stage for everybody to see.
And I think that was great that the young lady exposed them for what it was. And it should be equal. They've worked just as hard to get to the big dance, and to not have the proper weights. What was that little bitty weights?
Yeah, they
And,
had one table
and
and
the
one
food.
set of weights.
Was
No,
it
I think the girl brought her own dumbbells and put them in the gym.
Yeah, one table and one set of dumbbells. I mean, it's like, really? And then they put the pictures side by side. So they showed the women and then they showed the men.
Yeah.
And come on, that's just embarrassing.
And
Really.
That was embarrassing. And the food, what did the food as well? Did you see what they were feeding the women compared to the guys?
I didn't see that part. What?
It looked like a TV dinner. Yeah. It take the kids. What my youngest, she had TikTok. Everything's on TikTok.
Everything's on
So
TikTok.
she was like, they were showing the food. It looked like a TV dinner, and compared to the guys, men's spread. It was just ridiculous. And then the weights came from what? Dick Sports. What was going on with the NCAA?
We're afterthought. We are an afterthought.
Yeah, that
Like big sports that's in the malls.
yeah. Dick Sporting Goods send the workout equipment to the NCAA women's weight room.
oh, no way.
Wow.
That's retail stuff. It's not the same caliber of what they're used to working with. I mean, it was just a quick Band-Aid.
And then what did they say? They showed where, oh, we didn't have enough room. And she was like, oh no, we had a room.
Wow.
Boy, that was messed up there. We want all women treated fairly in their, prospective sports. Okay. So we pray that you NCAA folks learn from this. Don't let this happen again. Treat our girls right. Okay. So everybody's talking about, oh, my bracket's messed up, right? So it's been a lot of upsets.
I'm excited about the guys. My team won last night, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going all the way. They're going to the Sweet 16, and I'm excited. Orlando native was the player of the game, Shondi Brown.
Yeah.
Let's go, Michigan.
Okay. All right, Michigan. What about you, Brie? You have somebody? Who you going for?
Well, my team got sent out before they even played. Our VCU ended up, I'm here in Virginia. VCU got shut out the game because of the fact that they were infected with COVID. They had enough players to go out there and play, but the NCAA decided nope, so they didn't even get a chance to even show up. So
Wow.
a lot of heartbroken young men. Maybe next year.
How about U of H, Monique?
Boy, my heart. I mean, that was the game against Rutgers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Barely.
crazy.
63-60, right?
It was what I think like 6-3, 6-4, whatever it was. It was crazy. It was crazy. The game that was I think for me that was the best game so far of the competition, because it was just that roller coaster. Because I was like, oh, hey.
I mean, if you're only winning by 3, it's a roller coaster.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Well, LSU was up by like 12, 14. Yeah. And then they came back. I mean, Michigan came back and hitting those threes. And I was like, whoa, take some.
I know, right?
Yeah, when you're hot, you're hot.
How about Sister Jean?
Sister Jean came in there and gave those boys. Yeah, she not fooling around. I love her.
They beat what is it? Second seeded Illinois?
Yes.
Yes. She said a pre-game prayer.
Yeah, honey.
She got her 2 COVID shots. She said, ain't nothing going to stop me from going.
And nothing told me to pick those Chicago boys. And I went with Illinois anyway. Now I'm not very good at this bracket stuff. This is my first year doing it.
Trying too.
I was doing good, listening to everybody. Oh, well, Illinois. But something in my gut said, Should have went with Sister Jean. That prayer.
Loyola, right?
Now, Sister Jean laid it on them.
That team is on wings and prayers.
Amen. Amen.
On wings and prayers. She
101 in the stands, cheering and praying.
I love it. I love it.
She said she was going to get her shot and travel. I mean, that right there just made my whole basketball thing, just to see her there, especially after so much pomp and circumstance last year.
Yeah.
It was good to see her back there supporting that team.
Yeah.
Sister Jean.
That's awesome. Okay, really quickly, who do you have in the final four, or who you have in the finals? Well, we know you're gonna
Gonzaga's gonna win everything, so
you're going. Okay,
they're winning everything.
They're going
next.
I have no skin in the game.
I'm going with Baylor all the way.
All right, I'll just join you. I'll just join you. I got a team now.
I love U of H, but that was such a hard battle against Rutgers. And we needed, that was, so I don't know how, can it get to the Elite Eight? Possibly. But I'm going with Baylor all the way. And Kim, she's going with Michigan. So we shall see. Let's see what happens next week when we come back here and meet on Life, Love, Marriage, Divorce Conversations. Okay, so let's move on, because right now the hot topic in the NFL, Deshaun Watson.
Hands down. I mean, oops. No pun intended.
Oh, you're so silly.
That's a topic for you, Monique, because we know how you feel about this. We've talked about this.
Well, this is my thing, I just feel like the timing is really suspect. Now, I will never discredit a woman if something happened and she speaks up or what have you. However, I just find the timing in all of this to be suspect. You have a player who is very upset with how the organization pretty much ignored his request. You have players being traded. He wanted to be a part of the coaching decision with the ownership. That didn't happen. And so he was like, well, I'm not playing anymore. And all of a sudden, these allegations come up. We haven't heard anything until now. And the attorney who is representing him, in my opinion, Mr. Busby, he's suspect too. Okay. I don't know how you put all of this stuff out on social media before it goes into the courts or something's filed. I watched him yesterday, Mr. Busby. I don't even know how many women have filed at this point. What is it?
15.
15. I mean, and everybody Jane Doe. Okay. When you hear of a woman who brings an allegation of this sort to about something that's happened to her, there's a face. Okay. There is, we don't know who these people are.
Right.
Okay. And I just think that that's suspect. I also think it's suspect that the attorney, Mr. Busby.
Why you gotta say it like that?
Because I'm not feeling him. I'm not.
Okay. Mr.
Busby. I'm not feeling him. Yeah, he make me itch too, Kim. I'm itching.
Because we all itching now, huh?
Because something don't feel right in my spirit and in my soul. One, he's on this show. He came on this show. Did you see that yesterday, Tina? There's a local show called Isaiah Factor. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so he is like this guy who does these, interviews after, it comes on after our news here. And so he had him, the accuser's attorney. And that's the other thing. All the accusers go to the one attorney. Nobody have there are everybody up with the one. It just don't seem right to me. Anyways, so Isaiah, the reporter, asked him if he had spoke to Watson's attorney. Okay, he says that um, but before they attempted to resolve this with Deshaun's first attorney, who's out of LA.
Mhm.
Okay, without any media attention. But this attorney, according to Busby, was very dismissive and arrogant. Okay. Now, Deshaun has an attorney here in Houston, a local attorney representing him by the name of Rusty Hart. Okay. So he says he's been in touch with them and with him. Okay. Now, this is what I don't understand. Okay. So the case is filed. The minimum jurisdictional limit of the court, of which, because it's a civil suit, right, is $500. So the attorney is saying that these women are only asking for $500.
No.
So if they're asking for $500, why would you go to the first attorney to try to settle this before it goes into the media? That's my question.
First of all, Monique, why is it a civil suit? You know what I'm saying? If he did something to these women,
There you go.
why is it not criminal? Why?
Right.
There you go. So he says that he's taking affidavits now, and once he gets all of that information, he's now going to turn it over to the DA in Houston. Wouldn't that have been your first job? If you were worried about what was going on with these women that you say you care about and you representing, wouldn't that have been the first thing that you would have done, is file a criminal suit? Because you've collected all of the information, the evidence, the affidavits, but you went straight to social media and posted this stuff on your Instagram. That's why I say Busby the way that I say it, because it just doesn't make any sense to me.
There was also one that it was by text message, and one of them said, no, I'm sorry. Deshaun said, "Are you familiar with the glutes area?" And I don't know what she said and everything. And then he says, "Oh, I apologize if that made you upset or whatever." But how do you file a civil suit by him asking, because he wants a massage, "Are you familiar with the glutes area?" How is that a part? Because I think I would want to know.
I'll say this. If you are randomly going to go on Instagram and select a masseuse, and you being a female and somebody, majority of the time, you have your salon. You tell them come to the salon. I mean, I find it skeptical. I'm not going to put myself in harm's way of somebody that I don't know. Fly all the way to Houston for an hour, 2 hour massage and go home. And I don't know anything about his background.
If, I pray to God that this is not true. And again, I don't discredit anybody, but it's more to come on this story. Watson's attorney, Rusty Harden, is going to make a comment this week, is what we were told here. So that'll give us something to discuss next week. It just don't feel right to me. And like I said, I'm praying for all. If he did something, then of course he would have to suffer the consequences. I mean, that would only be the right thing to do. But, trying to clear your name after someone has tagged you with this, it's way more challenging to do. Is it possible? Absolutely. But it's more challenging to do when someone thinks that you've done something on this level. Let's go into our conversation topic of the day. For many of us, our exes have moved on, remarried, girlfriend, other woman, whatever they're doing, okay? The challenge in that situation for a woman is how she moves past that, and which we normally do because we're being strong for our kids. My question to you is, how did you prepare your kids to meet the other woman, maybe one you felt was a part of the demise of the marriage, not whole 100%, because we know, you know, other things may have played a factor, but if this person was a part of that, how do you now prepare your children to meet this person? And if that wasn't the case, um, how do you prepare them, period? And when I say other woman, it could be the mistress. Also when I say the other woman, it's somebody other than their mom,
Right.
and that's challenging. And no matter how old they are, it can affect them. How did you, or do you think you will deal with that, if it comes up? When I started Life, Love, Marriage, Divorce, I started it, I blogged. And I knew that my divorce was not in vain, because I know my faith, um, and my Christianity, and knowing that God put something on my heart to be able to encourage people, as well as set an example of how to deal with divorce. Okay, it's not easy. So we can put all of that on the table. And these are things that we have dealt with, that people are currently dealing with, or they unfortunately will have to deal with. And I think that we never bash our exes. That was not a part of my who I am as a woman, because that's the father of my children, right? But you still do have real feelings and emotions about the things that come across our laps, that we have to deal with, that we have to be strong, not only for ourselves, but for our kids. So I bring this up hoping that the experience of what the reality was in each of our situations, how maybe we can encourage somebody, um, who might be asking that question or having to deal with it. So Kim, I'm going to start with you. And how did you prepare your children, and how did you guys work through that?
Um, well, um, this I actually did not have to prepare my children, and I'll start by saying that. My kids were a little older, and my ex-husband married a friend who my children called auntie. So there was no introduction, for me. They were kids when they knew her as auntie. And so to answer your question,
So you
there was
didn't have you didn't have to prepare them.
I didn't have to have
Right.
conversation. Again, my children were already of you know adults,
Hmm.
adults already, to see this to see this thing happening. It was sensitive. Um, they got through it because they wanted to support their father, and they wanted their father to be happy, and he needed their uh, I guess support, um, and that's what they gave him, and I'll just say that.
You'll say that. Let me ask you this question: How, and because it is sensitive,
Hmm.
and I'm sure, or I'm going to assume, as they had feelings and they discussed that with you, and how they felt, there had to be an outlet, a place of comfort to come to, and share, because that's heavy. It's just heavy, period. You go from somebody as auntie to now you my stepmama. This not feeling right. How did you encourage them? And I know that it was challenging for you. How did you encourage them to navigate through this?
Um, that was it. It is touchy. It's very sensitive. I just encourage them to um, be as supportive to their father as they could, and um, things happen for a reason. You coast through it.
Mhm.
and it wasn't an easy thing for them to watch their mom go through that. It was very hurtful.
Yeah.
So they definitely supported me from a, you know, from that standpoint. But it's challenging because they want their mom to be happy and they want their father to be happy.
Mhm.
And I think in other situations, if he had chosen someone else, the circumstances would have been different.
Right.
But they tried um, as best as they knew how to love on me and love on their dad and love on their auntie slash stepmom. They did the best they could.
They did the best they could.
You definitely rely on God to get you through moments like that because that type of disappointment, even though we were divorced and divorced for years, so she wasn't a mistress or anything like that. She was my friend. She was like a sister almost, and they're not married anymore. But
But now they're not married anymore.
that is correct to my knowledge. They're not. He does not, and I'm sorry. I hate that. Well, I don't hate it, but I hate it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I relied on God.
Um, encourage them is what you did, was to support their father and know that it was out of y'all's hands.
Yeah, that was pretty much all I could say is just be supportive of your father and he deserves happiness and that's what happiness looks like to him and for him. So try very hard to walk with that and mom is going to be okay. Mom is resilient. I don't have anything bad to say. People make the decisions that they make because that's where they feel like they should make. They go based on things that feels good for them at the time.
Mm.
I wish him the best. I wish her the best. Um, we're good. In
And
fact, my daughter celebrated her birthday and he invited me to come to the birthday and we're okay.
Well, that's good.
To
That,
me, to
yeah.
me, I'm fine because I have to be good just for my own sanity and peace of mind. And I
Mhm.
want my children to still feel that, there are no hard feelings um, when it comes to us being parents. I'm always, and we're very involved parents, so we're always going to see each other, be around each other, and have discussions when it comes to my three. So that's it. There is no division when it comes to them.
Right. And that's a blessing. That's awesome. That is a difficult and a very sensitive situation, but I do thank you for giving your perspective, Kim. Bree, what have you had to speak to your kids about this?
yeah, I had whew, breathe. Ooh, so I need to take a um we're dealing with mistresses. So in my situation, and no disrespect to William, I'm just being truthful. Uh, I did not have to really introduce my children to the mistresses. Um, he was doing that behind my back and having them um, meet this woman in different circumstances.
So basically, it's like they're at an event. These are his friends, I'm sure. That's how he's introducing them. So the child understands that this is dad's friend because they're not looking at it as, okay, this daddy's girlfriend. So you're saying that he familiarized them with, oh, you saw her, this is a friend. So when this person that you're speaking about, it wasn't a stranger to your son, because
Wasn't a stranger to either one of my kids. They were aware that this one particular person was the result of our marriage and
Oh,
being in the divorce. So they were familiar with who this one particular woman was.
mhm,
Um, I think that my disappointment in that was that he wasn't protecting the kids. They didn't need to know her at that point. And it put them in an awkward position because they weren't allowed to use their voice to say yes or no. I don't want to meet her, or I do want to meet her.
mhm,
Um, I have no problem with him moving on with his life. I made the decision to leave the marriage,
mhm,
um, knowing for well that there was still life for me to live, and that I may have that situation in myself to have to introduce my kids to my significant other when that person arrives. And I've spent a lot of time thinking, how will I do this? What will I do when this situation arrives? I can't speak for Will, so I'll speak in my position on how I would handle my kids. One, I have a young daughter, and then I have an 18-year-old son who makes a lot of his own decisions, but I still guide him. But for the protection of my daughter, I'm not going to constantly bring everybody that I would date into my kids' life. Oh, like, hey, meet this friend, this friend, this friend, this friend. I had asked Will, and I'm asking myself, that when that significant other comes into play, that I would want William to know that this person is a part of my life, but will also be a part of your child's life indirectly, but you will always be her father,
mhm,
period. That person in my life will understand his boundaries as well as how you interact with my kids. And that's all I want from him.
mhm,
If you find somebody that is going to be a part of your life, a significant part of your life, not somebody that's just passing through, then have the consideration to have a conversation with me so that I understand where she's coming from, how she'll interact with my kids, what my expectations are. I want to listen to what his expectations are as well and take that into consideration. And then we just build a cohesive, coexisting partnership with everybody involved.
mhm.
And I think that that's part of the maturity, because in the beginning, that girl couldn't come nowhere around me or around my kids. And that was based on the hurt and everything. And then, so right now, I just say more blessings to him. I hope that he has found his happiness that he's looking for. But in regards to our kids, we have to discuss that.
Right.
We have to discuss the people that are coming around our kids.
Tina, what's been your experience um in on this subject?
My experience is that when my ex-husband checked out, he wanted to move fast. I don't know if it was an ultimatum with the other person. I don't know. Maybe he just wanted to move fast. I don't know. But my kids were forced to meet the other one, the other woman. Um, and of course, they didn't want to. They would come home and say, "Oh, mom, dad wants us to all get together, or go to dinner, or go on a trip, do blah blah blah," and they didn't want to. And so I would just tell them to, talk to your dad and tell him what you wanted to do or didn't want to do, whatever. And then they will come back and say, yeah, we did talk to dad, but he's making us do it anyway. And so, by them coming back to me, you know, of course, as moms, we have to, put our little shirts on and, and make them feel a little bit better. At one point I was just like, just get it over with, you know. They didn't want to get it over with because they didn't want to meet her,
Mhm,
because they saw her as the one that broke up their family. And she had a lot to do with it, but it wasn't all her, you know. So you have to sit back and you have to explain to her, to the kids, and you have to make them understand. But he wanted to move fast. He wanted to move fast. I mean, we got divorced, and within months, he was already engaged to her. So they couldn't understand that. It's hard for the kids. And at the time, I think I had a 11-year-old, or I can't remember how old she was. She's 13 now, but she didn't understand. She still doesn't understand.
Right.
Actually, my 26-year-old still doesn't understand.
Right.
So he's still dealing with it to this very day. He's still dealing with it. So it's hard when um, you are pushed. You are pushed. And I would have a conversation with him, and I would say to him all the time, just let it be. It'll happen when it happens. Don't push them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not right to push them. It'll happen. I even had a conversation with her.
Mm-hmm.
But, don't push them. It's going to happen eventually. If y'all going to be married and y'all going to be together, it's going to happen. And they just didn't listen, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's still very hard to this day for my kids. So I would say don't push the kids. Just let it happen when it happens, because eventually it will happen.
What I hear you saying, Tina, is just let nature take its course, because kids love both parents and they try to navigate through it. It might happen, it may not, but whatever it is, the grown-ups in the situation need to understand, to be patient.
Exactly.
Okay. So what I'm going to say is, for me and my personal situation, I've been blessed. Um, my ex and um, I've been blessed. Now, our situation was challenging, to say the least, but he has not introduced my children to anyone. Now, I'm not saying that that won't ever happen, but I have not had to deal with that, because our primary focus has been, working together as co-parents and, um, our family. So we put all of our attention not on who this person might date or who they might be with. All of our focus has been with us, and we do our holidays together. We do everything as a family unit, and so we focused on restoring that. And so I have not had those challenges, but I want him to be happy. But I do definitely we would have to sit down and talk about who's going to come into my children's life, what is the situation about, and have that kind of conversation. But right now, we good. Keep it the way it is, Mr. Dotson. I do appreciate our family, but I do want him to be happy. And whenever that, if that comes across the table, then we'll deal with it. So this is some real deep stuff. I'm sure we're gonna have a part 2 on this one. I'm sure we'll have a lot of comments. You guys gave a lot of good, real advice. Um, it's sensitive. It's tough when us mamas love our kids. So I'm gonna wrap this up now, and let's go into the message of the day. I wanted to go into 1 John 4:4. It says, "You, dear children, are from God and have overcome them, because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world." One of my favorite scriptures. I love this. And what I wanted to say is that this is a beautiful reminder to wake up to every day. We are God's children. And because we are from Him, we inherit an overcomer spirit, an overcomer's mentality, and we have an overcomer's strength. Therefore, walk in today and every day knowing that you can overcome all attacks, all challenges, all trials and tribulations, because the God who is in you is greater than anything or anyone who is in the world. You are an overcomer, period. Blessings and love to each and every one of you. And thank you for tuning in to Life, Love, Marriage, Divorce Conversations. We'll see you next week.